Hey, my lovely stitchy friends, how are you all doing? This is Mika on Friday, February 28th, and I am finally back on Flosstube. It has been way too long, but I'm back. Hi, and welcome to my channel. If you're new, my name, like I said, is Mika. I am Dutch, I live in the Netherlands, and this channel is about all my stitching adventures. And to all my returning friends and subscribers, thank you so much for sticking with me. It has been way too long, way longer than I had planned. I look back and I saw that my last video was uploaded to YouTube on July 30th of last year. So it has been what, 7 months? Way too long. In my last video, I told you all about the new apartment that I had bought and that I was going to get the key in September and that I hoped to be back here on Flosstube late October, early November. And here we are, and it is the end of February already. A lot has happened, and also a lot of stitching. I have had a major case of startitis and Heaven and Earth Designs fever. So in a minute, I am going to move the camera to the table where I have a pile of whips and new starts lined up to show you. But before we move there, I thought it was nice to, do a really little life update before we go into stitching, because it has been so long. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that this is not my usual setup. You would normally be looking at me, but instead you are looking at our two lovely sleeping family dogs. In front here, in front of the fire, is our beagle Lotje, and in the window is our rescue dog from Greece, Mila. I thought it would be nice to, at least give you something sweet to look at while I tell you a little bit of where I've been. Those of you who follow me on Instagram have seen stitching updates as well as a few life updates. You know where I've been and how I've been. But if you only follow me on Flosstube, it seemed like I completely vanished from stitching life. I've gotten so many messages on here from lovely people writing to me, "Hey Mika, how are you? We miss you. Please come back. How's the new house going? How are you doing? Are you okay?" And I want to say a big thank you for that. It is so nice to read that people miss you. It's very encouraging. So thank you all for that. Life has been bumpy, let's say. The move into my new house went very differently from what I had hoped and dreamed. The house itself is beautiful. The renovation that we did took about 6 weeks and it went generally very smoothly. But late October, when I was getting ready to actually move in, my mental health took an enormous deep dive down again, unfortunately. The panic attacks came back, the anxiety issues kicked back in, my sleeping problems and insomnia came back to me. And I hit a whole new level of rock bottom, unfortunately. The whole story of what happened is a story that I will share at some point here. In the past, I've been very open about my burnout, my whole mental health journey, and Mila's hearing a car pass by. She's so alert, super alert. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, brain fog. Sorry. I was saying that in the past I've been very open about my whole, mental health situation, and I definitely want to continue that. It's been super helpful to myself to record my progress and to listen to it, and I found that it resonates with so many people in the stitching community as well. So I definitely will share that story at some point, just not right now. I don't feel well enough to appear in front of the camera. I mean, I still look the same, but I don't want to right now. And the brain fog is back in full force. It's taking me quite some effort to gather my thoughts here in a language that is not my own. So yeah, that has to wait. Also, if I share that story, I want to feel, comfortable enough again to appear in front of the camera so that we actually have a sense of a stitchy visit, if that makes sense. But good to know. I may not be doing well, but I am safe. This is obviously not my new house. This is my parents' place. I am staying with them for the foreseeable future because I don't want to be alone in the evenings and at night. And despite everything, work is going really rather well. I continue to build up my work hours. I am back to 3 days work a week now, which is going well. I continue to build up my work hours and my responsibilities, and I have so many supportive people around me at work, so that is going well. She's lazy. Oh, such a deep sigh. And so yeah, work is going well, and I am focusing my energies on that. I'm focusing my energies on, an area of my life that is showing good progress. That is a plane. And next to that, I obviously still spend a lot of time stitching and dancing, the two big loves of my life. We have added 2 more hours at the gym, so I go there 4 days a week now. Hashtag Flosstube Fit Club. And I still have loads of fun there. And that being said, I think that is a good segue into stitching. I'm going to stand up carefully and I'm going to see if Milla is wanting to show her face. Sweetie. Hi. She's very lazy. Hello. Hi. We rescued Milla from an animal shelter in Greece last autumn. Talk about anxiety issues. This sweet, sweet, lovely dog has had a difficult first year of her life. And she and I have very quickly become very, very, very good friends. And Lotje, our beagle that we've had since she was a few weeks old, is as she always is. Those of you who own beagles, you know what I'm talking about. She's sweet, she's stubborn, and she is a lot of fun. All right, on to the stitching now. Are you ready for this? This is a pile of about, I'd say, 40 centimeters tall. It contains all the stitching that I have done and started since we last spoke in July. So, if you didn't already have a beverage next to your stitching, I strongly suggest that you get yourself something to drink. This is going to be a long one. I am holding the phone in my hand. I realize that is not ideal, but I don't have any sort of equipment here to you know, make a sort of stand. I'll try to hold it as stable as I can. And we are going to go in chronological order. So the project on the top is the one that I continued or started since last video. And down at the bottom is my last start. Are you ready? Let's go. First project that I'm going to show you is Long Dog Samplers Scarlet Ribbons. You've seen and hear me talk about this one so very much. It is a special project to me. I love Quaker designs. I'm stitching it in my favorite Silks for You thread that I'm going to show you in a sec. And as I've said before, but if you're new, you haven't heard that yet, so let me repeat it. The 4 sayings that are in the pattern, I am going to replace them with a quote from my favorite architect, Gaudi. Nowhere near there yet, but I have managed to finish the first page. I started in the top left corner, and here we go. So pretty. The nice thing about holding the camera in hand is that I can try to find an angle to show you that PR147 silk from Silks for You in a sort of... Nah, I'm giving up. This is that thread that is infamous for not showing up correctly. It is much more teal than it shows up here. Those of you who own Silks for You PR147 know exactly what I talk about. Gorgeous. I'm stitching this on a piece of 32 count vintage marmor Murano 202. And that is the first project that I worked on. The second project that I worked on was a whip that you also saw last time, Square Dance by Ink Circles. I don't have the cover picture with me here, and it's also not uploaded to my Dropbox, so I will try and insert a picture of the cover here. And here is Square Dance at the moment. Sorry for the wrinkles, it's out of the Q-snap. You heard me talk at length last time about my adventures, let's say, with choosing the right combination of threads for this project. I started this last August. Diana from It Is Kismet Stitches held a stitch along that I have completely forgotten the hashtag for. I will insert it either here in the screen or in the description box down below. And it was a perfect opportunity for me to use this gorgeous, gorgeous fabric. This is Peacock Elegance by Extra Design in 40 count linen. You will see another piece of Peacock Elegance down the whip pile on a 36 count. And remember this one when you see that, because then you'll see that there is not just a difference between even weaves and Aidas and linen, there's also a difference in color in between the various counts. This is the 40 count, and the threads that I have settled on, the threads that I've picked ultimately are a purple silk from Gloriana's, Purple Night Sky, here in the bottom. Oh, it's going very green now. It's much bluer. It is lightly variegated, just lightly. There, that's true to color. The blue one is Bikini Blue from Threadworks. It's a cotton. Yes, I mix silks and cottons in the same project. I have absolutely no problem with that. And I think there is no use in, having stitchy police rules like that. I mix silks and cottons to my pleasure. And here, this beautiful first center motif is done in Galactic by Collar and Cotton. It really is fun to go up close to my stitches. It makes the image more wobbly, but it is nice that I am able to show you a proper close-up of my projects now. That is Square Dance at the moment. The next project was a restart, also somewhere in the summer. Echo by Alessandra Adelaide. I started Echo for the first time somewhere in 2017, I believe. I stitched it on a very dark purple, a bit purple like, you know, this purple in the thread here. A piece of Dark Elves Magic linen by Chromatic Alchemy with a blue and purple Silks for You thread. And as pretty as it was, I just wasn't in love with the combination. And so when I bought a couple of linens during our Dutch stitching retreat from Extra Design, among which was this beautiful 36 count linen in ice blue. And then a few months later, during the summer, Silks for You released their beautiful peacock thread, PR152. Look at that being gorgeous. I couldn't resist, and I thought that Echo was the perfect project to do a restart. I haven't stitched much on it, but here is what I did. Yes, that's the center, and I'm moving out into the first wing. I'm going to move in close so you can see the variation. Isn't that pretty? Like I said, this is 36 count linen, and I have to do a shout out to Lydia from Lovely Stitches for the beautiful knee dividers. She has a Flosstube account as well as an Etsy shop. I strongly recommend that you pay her a visit if, like me, you love sparkly needle minders. I will link her down below. That was my restart of Echo. The next project that is up is one of the many new starts that are in this pile. It is another Long Dog Samplers. I'm going to try and find it on the tablet here. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Yes, here you go. Game of Swans. Released in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. It quickly became a stitch along, and if you look at the picture, you can totally understand why. I loved the motifs in it. I loved, you know, the design and how it looked and how the various motifs were arranged in the design, but I am not too fond of these colors. And then I saw our wonderful Mexican floss tuber, Yanni, who started Game of Swans and did it in a monochrome version. And then it clicked with me. Then I thought, oh yes, that is a perfect idea. So I took out a piece of 28 count cream Jobelin. I took out that wonderful Misu Seda silk that's named after me, Darling, the much beloved blue-green thread, and I started Game of Swans. And here you go. Isn't that lovely? I love the combination of Jobelin and Miss Useda's threads. I raved about it on Instagram back in the day. There's just something about the combination of Jobelin and her silks that is absolutely freaking fantastic to work with. I haven't yet worked on Game of Swans in the new year, and I'm still very much in, you know, my Heaven and Earth Designs fever phase, but something tells me that I might get back to Game of Swans quickly. Next up is another restart. I restarted Baroque by Ink Circles. Insert picture here. Ha! No, wait. I was smart enough to put the cover page of this in the pile. You know, for all its disadvantages, brain fog has the advantage that you sometimes surprise yourself. Baroque was a start that I did during our Dutch stitch retreat, or shortly after our Dutch stitch retreat last spring. I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago that beautiful Peacock Elegance fabric by X2 Design. Here is the 36 count version. See how it is, you know, bluer and more mottled? Oh, beautiful. This is a fabric that I bought off X2 during retreat. I had asked her to dye this colorway for me and it turned out beautifully. And then I bought threads for Baroque at the Handwerk Boutique, the shop that we visited during retreat. I bought enough to stitch this beautiful design 1/2. 36 count, especially hand-dyed linen, is, you know, perfectly able for 1/2 stitching. But I don't really like 1/2. I have my troubles with it. I remember that back in the day, Emily from Eclectic Possessions mentioned a thing or two about how she prefers 2/2 on 36 count. That is, you know, her way to go. And I very much feel the same. So I put it away after a retreat, after stitching on it for maybe just 1 or 2 weeks. And then I restarted it when Miss Ucedas again released her Peacock colorway. And Peacock is exactly the same shade as my beautiful teal colored bedroom wall. So I had to have that, of course. And here is my restart. This is the center motif stitched in Peacock. Peacock is, I would say, a tonally variegated thread. It doesn't show up properly. Let me see if I can. Yes, there you go. That is the color true to life. Do you see here in the corner, in this swirl, how there are some lighter stitches and some darker ones? It is a very, very subtle tonal variegation. I stuck to my plan to stitch Baroque in 2 colors instead of a monochrome. My plan is to stitch the diagonals and part of the border in one thread and then the other motifs and another part of the border in a contrasting color. I have gone so far for another Miss Ucedas, number 56, which is bright electric blue. I like it, but not yet in love. Not yet. I'm not sure. As another option, I have this beautiful silk from Silks for You. This is number 132. It is greenish dark gray with beautiful dark green. I may throw that in with Peacock. Maybe. Let's see. Next up is another Ink Circles design called Cirque de Carreaux. Please excuse me for butchering that French. By the way, can you tell that I had a shitty autumn by all the starting and stashing that I did? What is it about retail therapy and about starting new things that just gives us a much needed shot of happiness, however short term? I love, love, love this craft. Oh man, where would we be without it? Like I said, Cirque de Carreaux. I loved this ever since I saw Ingeborg, A Stitch Too Far, stitch it up a couple of years ago. It's just, it's my style. I am stitching this on 32 count Sky High Murano from Pole Stitches. It's an even weave, and here is where I got to so far. This is the center motif, this beautiful one, and I am venturing up to the left corner. I'm stitching this using my favorite DMC color variations 4022. And it is just a beautiful, beautiful blue stitch. This is really relaxing stitching. Just one color. You have a feeling of accomplishment and finishing, you know, something when you finish one of those triangles or diamonds, I should say. And yeah, beautifully relaxing project. Certical by Ink Circles. Next, another new start, and here we are slowly venturing into my mad HAED fever phase. This is Easter Lily Fairy by Hannah Lynn, as charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. You can probably tell why I fell for this lady. She's been in my stash 2 or 3 years. I bought her back in the day as a companion piece to Celia, Hannah Lynn's beautiful blue-haired lady. And I mean, look at that background and the wings and the eyes and just, yes. And I couldn't resist starting her, so I started in the top left corner. And I'm almost done with the first page. There is DMC metallic in here. Let's see if it will show up. Yes, here. Those sparkly bits. Can you hear it when I move my finger over it? That stuff is worth its reputation. It is absolutely horrible to stitch with. You know, petite treasure braid all the way next time. But I had never worked with DMC metallics before, and as with all things, I like to form my own opinion about them. So yeah, I am including it in this project and I will work my way through it. I have to be honest, I am not as much in love with Easter Lily Fairy as I thought I would be. I love the colors, and I think my trouble is with the fabric count. I'm stitching Mini Celia, her companion piece, her sister, let's say, on 25 count. So I wanted this to be 25 count as well, which means that I'm stitching 1/1. And like I mentioned with Baroque, I'm just not much of a 1/1 type girl. I haven't worked on her yet in the new year, and some other HAEDs that are further down this pile have, you know, taken my attention away from her. But she is beautiful. Absolutely, absolutely beautiful. So I will at some point go back to her for sure. Another HAED that got a lot of love and attention is Night Moves by Jim Warren. Hang on while I try to find the cover picture. Here you go. That's Night Moves. The first ever piece that I put in my wish list on the Heaven and Earth Designs website, and to this day I still love it. I started in the top left corner. I have finished the first 2 pages, and I spent New Year's Eve stitching on this piece. It was the first time in maybe ever? No, not ever. But at least the first time in my adult life that I spent a New Year's Eve, you know, just at home. No people around me other than my family. And I spent the whole evening stitching. And it was fun. I mean, you guys all know this already, but it was fun. And I got so much done. I ventured into the second row. And I started on this beautiful dark wave that you see appearing at the horizon. And here is where I got to so far. Ta-da! Page 1, page 2, and a good beginning on page 3. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen my concerns about that moon. It's made up of tans and beiges and peaches and olive greens. And while I was stitching, I kept saying to myself, trust the chart. Trust the chart. And when you move away from it, you see that it will work out just fine. As you can see here, I grid my fabric using a friction pan. I know that some people have concerns about, using friction pans on normal fabric that is not hand-dyed. What I do, and what I have found to work very well, is that after I finish a page, I simply put the blow dryer to it. I know it sounds silly, but friction pan lines don't just disappear with friction, they also disappear with heat. I gridded the first 2 pages of Night Moves exactly the same way. And do you see any line residue? No, you don't. I make sure that I do that every time that I finish a page. So, the lines don't, what's the word I'm looking for? The lines don't stay on the fabric. Please excuse my poor English there. That is how I grid. I have gridded with sulky sliver thread. And this is just so much faster. You obviously shouldn't do that on a hand-dyed fabric, but this is just, normal off-white even weave. And for me, it works wonders. It makes my stitching so much faster, especially the combination of gridding with that wonderful stitching app Pattern Keeper. Glorious. I've gotten a lot of questions about what fabric I use for my Heaven and Earth design stitching, so I thought I would mention it here. I prefer to stitch my HAEDs on this fabric, which is a Swigard even weave 18 count called Davosa. So it is exactly the same count as an 18 count Ada, but it is not Ada, it is Swigard even weave. So it's much softer on the hands. I have absolutely zero trouble with threads slipping, as you sometimes hear with even weaves or linen. I love using Davosa. I know at least one store in the Netherlands that sells this fabric. So ladies and gents, in the Netherlands, that web shop is hardanger.nl. The owner is a lovely lady who communicates very well. She has quite some 18 count Davosa colors in stock. Not just white, but also ecru, beige, off-white, ivory, I believe. So if you want to know more, visit hardanger.nl. That is what I ended 2019 with, what I ended the decade with. And now let's move into the various new starts that I've already had in 2020. My new year, new start, was a piece that HAED charted last year from Leonard Afremov. And I remembered that I nearly squealed when I saw that they had charted it. It is my absolute favorite piece of his. And I'm so sad that he passed away. But I'm very glad that they charted this. This is Evening. There, Evening. It is a biggie, as per usual. 625 by 380 stitches. But I mean, look at those colors. So vivid, so vibrant, just amazing. I started this on New Year's Day, and it is quite a lot of confetti. I bought the regular piece, so the 90, 89 colors are in here. There is a max colors available for this chart. I take my hat off to you if you work on the max colors. That is not for me. But already in the regular version, there is quite a bit of confetti. And just yesterday, I managed to finish the first page. Let me show you. Ta-da! Oh, I love this piece. The black, which is not very visible in between the navy blue, but the black is trees And there is loads of 939 in here. There, that shows it better. 820, various shades of the new DMC colors, or the newest DMC colors, I should say. Let me zoom in for you. Beautiful, beautiful to work on. Especially in these areas over here, even though it doesn't really show, there is so freaking much confetti. There's one other thing that I want to mention about this piece. I just told you about the Davosa that I stitched my HAEDs on. This is not Davosa. This is its sister, Bellana 20 count. Also from hardanger.nl. This is the E-Crew colorway. I started evening on my trusted 18 count Davosa, but I very quickly found that I didn't like the coverage with all those dark colors. I brought it to show you. This was my start on 18 count, and obviously it's not gonna show up as I wanted to. Yeah, sort of. Here you go. This was my start on 18 count, and I know that you're supposed to look at a HAED from at least 3 feet, aka a meter away, but I am a process stitcher. I find the process much more interesting than the finished product. And so if I'm going to spend years with my nose close up to this project, I don't want to be bothered by seeing all the fabric, peek through the dark colors. I think I did this bit in the first week, and it frustrated me to no end that I kept railroading my stitches. So then I restarted it. Let me see if I can show you the difference in size. Can you see that? Can you see the difference between the Bellana and the Davosa? I can with my own eyes, and I am still very glad that I restarted it on 20 count. It is denser, of course, especially with all the confetti. You know what? Why don't I show you the back of it? Let's do that. One thing that I love about HAEDs is to see, how people travel their threads and how they tackle the confetti. Here you go. Look at that beautiful chaos. Especially these bits. There's actually some dimension to them. I mean, you could easily portray this as modern art, right? Anyway, enough joking about Afremo's evening. It's a wonderful stitch, and I very much look forward to get back to it. My next new start, if you were looking at the screen, you just got a sneak peek of it, had everything to do with the dull, gray, rainy days that has been this entire winter. It is the end of February now, and 2 days ago we got our first tiny little bit of snow. It melted away within a few hours. It wasn't even worth measuring, and the rest of the winter has felt pretty much like fall. Now I know that a lot of you Flosstubers and stitchers love fall. I don't. I don't like snow and ice, but I way prefer a snowy, icy winter with cold temperatures and a clear blue sky to this dull gray weather that we've had. Oh well, climate change and all that. Anyway, back on topic. Because I was getting, down with all the gray that I saw outside, I figured that it was time to start myself a summery project. And I did that with the most summery thread that you've ever seen. Look at that. This is PR 160 by Silks For You, and it is absolutely every bit as bright as you see it here on screen. This thread is magnificent. It is an actual rainbow. It is so fun to work with. I started an Etsy piece with this thread. I don't have the cover picture here with me in my Dropbox, so I will insert the cover of that here. This is by an Etsy store called Lena Cross Stitch, linking her down below. The piece is called Winter Night, and I thought that it would be fun to try and turn that into a summer night piece with this thread. And here is what I did. The pink is showing up more red than it is in real life. Let's see if I can fix that. No. You'll just have to imagine that the red is hot pink. This is 32 count Murano Mint Splash from Zweigart. The thread is gorgeous, the fabric is gorgeous, and I am not in love with the pattern. That's just my taste. It is a good pattern to work with, but the thread is quite busy, and as you saw on the cover picture, there are many swirls and circles and lines, and if I look at this, I sort of lose my way where I am supposed to look, if that makes sense. So I worked on this for about a week. It didn't feel right. And you know what happens when I feel it doesn't feel right. I put it away and I start something else. So I downloaded another Lena Cross Stitch Etsy pattern, another wintry theme one called Ice Dreams. Insert picture here. And that is a pattern I'm very happy with. Here is my start. Mwah. This is 32 count Fool's Gold, linen by Extra Design. This is obviously the center of the piece, and this is something that I'm happy with. The fabric is way yellower in real life. Let's see if it will show up. Getting there, but still not as bright as it really is. Nope, it's not gonna. Then we zoom back into the stitching. This one I'm having fun with. And actually, I haven't shown this start on Instagram. So this is the first time that I'm showing this project. Next up is another new start. And I was enabled by one of our most beloved Flosstubers, Caroline from Of the Grid Needle Arts. She is doing a 24-hour rotation on a couple of pieces this year. And somewhere towards end of January, beginning of February, she showed her beautiful whip, Amtrak by Sampler Cove. Insert picture here. I have Amtrak. I have a couple of Sampler Cove patterns. And when I saw Caroline working on that, I figured that it was high time for me to start that. So I did. And you guys, I got so much done on Amtrak. Have a look. Oh, this is such a wonderful, wonderful design to work on. I started in the center here, and I'm slowly moving my way to the left and up to the left, top left corner. I so love the various motifs in here. And this project has gotten a lot of love from you guys on Instagram as well. The fabric is Frozen Leaves, 32 count linen by Extra Design. It is showing up a bit beige yellow. It is more greenish yellow. Let me see if I can. Yeah, that's more like it. And now I'm going to zoom back in and show you the threads. The dark color is beautiful dark turquoise, which shows up obviously as blue. Come here. Please turn greener. Nope, it won't. Do you see that? You should look at it on the whip now. That's where it shows up properly. That is PR123 by Silks For You. I paired it with number 38, a gorgeous mint green. Yes, this is mint green in real life from Miss Usedas. Oh dear, my poor camera. And then for the lines, I am using DMC Color Variations 4025. 4025 is a thread that is curious to me. When you see it on the skein, it looks green, maybe with a little hint of gray. But when you stitch it up, look at that. It is very much gray with little bits of green. I do like it though. I think it pairs very well with the two silks. So that was Amtrak. I spent 3 weeks on this, maybe even 4. So much fun. And I would have probably continued working on this if a certain vacation plan had not occurred. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I am vacationing in tropical Curacao this summer. I'm going with my great friend Patricia, who you know as Crafters Madness on Instagram, and who you also know if you attended our retreat last year. Patricia and I have been talking about going to Curacao for 2 years, maybe? And at first it was just a fantasy, just something on the bucket list. But this year we decided to go for it. It's going to happen in June. We have booked ourselves a lovely, lovely house with a private pool. We are going for 2 weeks. Oh, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And I started yet another Heaven and Earth Designs in honor of that trip coming up. Let me see the cover page. There you go. Jim Warren, Ocean's Dream. Although in my head I call it Ocean Dreams. It's a beautiful picture of, or painting of, a girl who fell asleep under a cover of waves with a book in her hand while the sun slowly sets, and you can almost feel that comfortable, warm, late afternoon summer heat on her shoulders there. This reminds me of our many holidays in Spain, and I get all warm and you know, yeah, I get a good feeling inside when I look at this picture. I ordered a color expansion for this. This chart contains 150 colors. There is also a max color version available on the Heaven and Earth Designs website, which contains, I believe, 234 colors. Like I said earlier, max colors is just not for me, but 150 is nice. It gives just a little bit more depth and a little bit more contrast to these beautiful, beautiful waves. I started on this, as usual, in the top left corner, so there is not much to see yet except for blue sky and the beginning of a cloud. But here is what I did so far. The first page is finished. I have made a start on the second page. There's mostly DMC 3811 in here, which is a mint green. And there is so much 3811 in here that I have already started on my third skein. Again, this is 18 count Davosa Zweigart even weave. I have calculated that I can get about 2100 or 2200 stitches out of a skein of DMC on 18 count. So the fact that I've started on my third skein already means that there is about 4,500 stitches of 318 in here. But there is also 955. There is beige and brighter green in the bottom and underneath the clouds. It was a very, very quick, comfortable page to stitch on. That is all the stitching that I have done so far, but it is not the last piece that I'm going to show you today, because tomorrow is Leap Day, February 29th. I was watching Debbie, Creatively Yours, the other week, and she mentioned doing a leap day stitch along for, leap day. You pick a project and you give yourself 4 years to work on it until there is, a next leap day in hopefully 2024. Debbie explained, and I hope I remember this correctly, that this idea originally started with another stitcher who was going to start a long dog samplers for the Leap Day Stitch Along. Debbie adapted it to work on a nice new big piece, and I am going to join her in that. And you may guess what kind of design I am going to start. I'll give you a hint. It starts with heaven and it ends in an earth design. I'm going to start this one. The freebie Peacock Daisy that they released last year. Oh, look at that. Look at those colors, you guys. Dark blue, teals, mint greens, summery yellows, bright hot pink in the middle. Oh, I love this. And the good thing is that I have all the threads to at least stitch the first page in the top left corner. Now that we are going to Curaçao, I am going to put a lot of effort in not spending money on things that I don't need. And so I have told myself, Mika, you have more than enough stash. You have more than enough new starts in the last half year, judging by the pile that I just showed you. If you're going to start something new, it needs to be from stash. I still have a very high Heaven and Earth Designs fever, so it had to be a Heaven and Earth Designs, and Peacock Daisy is just, it's so fun. I've seen a couple of people stitch on it on the HAED Facebook page. I believe I saw one person finishing the top row. It just looks fantastic. I have a piece of Devosa lined up. I have my threads bobbinated. And tomorrow, as soon as I'm awake and I have had breakfast and I've cuddled with the dogs, I am going to start Peacock Daisy. So guys, that's it. This was fun. It feels really, really nice to record my stitching progress again. I hope you will forgive me the wobbly camera work and mixing up my words or losing my thoughts every now and then. Thanks for visiting with me. I hope that, now I've bit the bullet again, that I will be back on Flosstube more regularly. I'll definitely keep you updated on Instagram in the meantime. And if you are going to join us tomorrow in the Leap Day Stitch Along, the hashtag for it on Instagram is LeapDaySal, S-A-L. I wish you a lovely weekend, a lovely Friday off the grid party tonight if you're joining in. And I hope to see you again soon. Ciao, my friends.